YouTube, what's going on? My name is Ty. On this channel, I talk about fashion, fragrance, and a variety of different lifestyle topics. So, if that type of content interests you, do me a favor, please consider subscribing and make sure you hit the bell to stay notified anytime I post new content. Today, back with another fragrance review, this time for Haramain's Amber Oud Gold Edition. Now, this one has been around for quite some time, but I'm just now getting around to checking it out. So as usual, I'll talk a little bit about how this one smells, talk about the performance, its versatility, and then we'll finish with my final thoughts and see if it's one that I recommend. So, if that sounds good to you, let's jump right into it. This one released back in 2018 and is meant to be a clone or a dupe of Xerjoff's Herba Pura, which if you haven't had a chance to smell yet, really all about fruity notes, some musk, it has some amber, some vanilla, so that balance of fruity and sweet. Really nice fragrance, one that's unisex. In my opinion, it leans just slightly more feminine than masculine, but nonetheless a great scent that can work, for anyone in a number of different occasions. Now, with Xerjoff's Herba Pura, I have sampled that a few times, so I'm familiar with the scent. And though, it is a really great scent, and it's one that I do think is nice and that I enjoy, I don't necessarily love the DNA, right? It's one that is enjoyable. I, on occasions would reach for it, but kind of hard for me at least to justify paying the price again because it's not a DNA that I'm absolutely sold on. So insert, Haramain's Amber Oud Gold Edition was just the perfect opportunity for me to be able to, have access to this DNA, add this to the collection at a really great price. So let's kick things off with the presentation. So let's talk about how this one actually smells, right? With the notes, you're going to get, I'll add them to the screen, the official notes, but essentially up top, you get some bergamot and green notes. And you have some melon, some pineapple and amber. Then in the base, I believe you have vanilla woods, maybe musk. But very similar to Herba Pura, this one really all about that fruitiness and the sweetness and kind of the balance of the two throughout. So in the opening, you're going to get a blast of kind of citrus with that bergamot, but then also just fruits as a whole. So that melon, that pineapple, really give this one a sort of tropical vibe and tropical feel. But though tropical still is very, elegant as well. So just a really nice fragrance and it opens up beautifully. The opening is very fruity, little tart, from the green notes and that bergamot, but overall definitely on the sweeter side and just smells really good. It's bright, it's fresh, it's uplifting, but still sweet. And really enjoyable opening, I'd say. It's easy to enjoy this one. As you start to work your way through the mid, you get that amber, and of course as it continues to dry down, you get that vanilla. So those two definitely add the warmth to this fragrance to give a nice balance, right? So you have that fruitiness that starts to die down a bit, but left with a slight fruity touch and that sweetness. So really enjoyable scent. I think that's the best word to use, is just an enjoyable scent, right? Easy to like, easy to enjoy. And I don't think it's listed, but I definitely get sort of a sandalwood maybe in the base as well. Like I said, I don't think it's in the official notes, but overall just have this sort of creamy, smooth vibe to it. And I know musk is in there, so potentially, that's where it's coming from, but wouldn't be surprised if there was actually some sandalwood in here. This one is bright, it's sweet, it's playful, but it still has a luxurious and high class feel to it. This one makes a statement without doing too much. I'd say that's the easiest way to kind of break this down. It's bold, it's bold enough to make that statement, but not challenging in any way in terms of, being able to wear it or the note breakdown. Relatively simplistic and easy to pull off. So that's how I would describe this fragrance in terms of, the smell and the feeling and the vibe that it gives me. So let's jump into performance and versatility, and we'll start with performance. This one performed very well. I've only worn it a couple times, but each of those times, I've gotten 8+ hours easy kind of with this one, right? So at that 8 hour mark, still picking it up pretty easy and catching wafts of it pretty easy. But, at that time, of course, showering and, scrubbing it off. But one that I think can probably go even beyond that 8 hour mark, but just haven't had a chance to see, or verify if that is the case with this one. But longevity is not a problem at all on my skin, and projection, I'd say, is very good as well. For the first 2.5 to maybe 3 hours, this one projects really well. So for me at least, and on my skin, not one of the ones that you have to worry about, or wonder if someone can smell you. Yeah, they definitely probably can, right? And that was just with 2 to 3 sprays, or maybe 4 sprays max, with each of the times that I wore this one. As far as versatility, this one is, again, definitely unisex. And in terms of, the occasion, I'd say this one can be worn dressed up or dressed down. It's one that works, casually just as well as, some of those elevated scenarios. I think the biggest thing to talk about here is the time of year or the weather. So, of course, I think the simple answer is you can wear this year round, right? It has that fruity and freshness, in the opening, and then also some sweetness and depth in the dry down. So, whether warm weather, kind of have the fresh side, and a cooler weather, you have that base and the warmer elements that, can sustain that weather. And as always, I say, rock what you want when you want. You pay your hard-earned money for these fragrances. I think as long as, you're in a climate-controlled setting, or if you just monitor your amount of sprays, you can, get away with a number of different fragrances kind of in different settings or scenarios. But for me personally, this is one that I would say works best in the spring and the fall. I think summertime during the day, especially in extreme heat, this one can be a bit too much, a little too sweet, can become cloying for some. Summer evening, a mild summer evening, I think this can work well for a date night over the summer, but work best, I'd say, again, spring, summer evening, fall, and potentially even in the winter, especially for those, that may live in more mild climates. Definitely can work well in the winter. Of course, there may be better choices, but this one will still work nonetheless. So moving into my final thoughts, first and foremost, I think you're getting a lot for your money here. So starting with the presentation, really nice box, really nice bottle. Y'all know with some of these clone houses, the presentation can get a little crazy sometimes, and, at times can look very, tacky and cheap, but don't think that's the case here. Very sleek, very modern, very refined, box and bottle presentation here. And then, of course, with the fragrance itself, one that just smells really good. Quality is there, especially for the price, and, definitely has great projection and longevity. So as always, I'd recommend, trying the OG, if you've never smelled Cedrat's Herba Pura, maybe getting a sample of it or going to a store that has it in store so you can check it out that way. And then, of course, from there, if it's a profile that you love, or, a fragrance that you really enjoy, or one that you think you'd enjoy, can make the decision of, whether you go that route and buy that, or if not, again, you have a very solid, option here with Haramain's Amber Oud Gold Edition. One that, for me, it was just a no-brainer, right? Because, again, I've smelled Cedrat's Herba Pura. I really do like the scent, but just not one that I would reach for that often. So this, fragrance here just really sealed the deal for me. It's a perfect addition because still able to have that scent profile and DNA within my collection, but at a much more reasonable price. And in terms of the price, the quality that you're getting here is amazing, right? And honestly, it's a fragrance that I can see continuing to grow on me. And I say continuing because in the short amount of time that I've had this one, it's already grown on me quite a bit. So just such a captivating scent, and one that, again, is bold but not challenging. So, for those reasons, I'd say this is a really great, fragrance here. I think Haramain did an amazing job, and it's one that I would definitely recommend. And that's going to wrap up today's review. So I want to take a moment first and foremost to thank you all for tuning in and watching. Greatly appreciated. And as always, do me a favor, drop a comment below if you've ever tried anything from Haramain, specifically within the Amber Oud collection. I've heard there are a number of fragrances in that collection that are really good, so maybe exploring some more here soon. As always, peace and love. See you all next time.